Hello, welcome to this week's episode of CXNextLive. This is your host, Ryan Lester. For those of you joining for the first time, this is a weekly series we do focused on the world of customer experience, helping you with building your strategy, addressing core challenges, learning from real-world practitioners. We do this series every week, and we really focus on helping you all of you out there to build a better CX strategy. Many of us are in really challenging times. We're working through the COVID-19 pandemic. Many of the ways we work are changing. Many of the ways we're supporting our teams are changing. And really, we're here today to talk about that and help many of you address these challenges. The way we work has really changed, including with myself. For those of you who have been joining for the last few weeks, I've been doing these episodes from home, here in the home office, dealing with small children underfoot, changing the way I'm working, changing how I support our teams. And we want to help capture some best practices and things you can do to help address some of these core challenges. The episode today will be about a half hour long. We're excited to dig into a new topic that we haven't really touched on in the last few weeks. And so excited to spend time with all of you. I'll be inviting Marie Russo, who's in our product marketing team, to come in and talk about some exciting news we're doing around the world of visual engagement. So she'll be joining me partway through the episode to share a little bit more about what we're doing in that space and have some exciting announcements. But before I do that, I want to do a little bit of a level set. Many of us are really challenged with the way we work, how we're working, supporting our teams that might be remote. And really, things have changed a lot in the last few weeks. And I think they're going to only continue to change. Even as social distancing starts to be loosened, policies may go somewhat back to normal. That all is still additional change. And, many of our teams are kind of struggling with what to do about that, how to manage that. And really, what is this new normal? And so I think this is something that, we're hearing from a lot of folks is, how do we address this? What does the world of work look like going forward, both for our customers in the ways they want to engage us, the services they need? It's not like customer demands are going away. People still need support around things in their homes or new things they'd buy from you or better understanding services. They also have challenges around the employees and how your employees can interact with customers. And so delivering that kind of high touch in-person experience, but doing that remotely is really a challenge. And that's going to be our topic for today, is really digging into how do you deliver a great in-person experience, but doing that with your remote force, not being able to do a truck roll necessarily, or being next to that customer as they're having that experience. So many things we took for granted in the past, let's say in-person customer support or field service or technical support, where you could send a technician to a customer's home, to an employee's desk. Much of that is no longer an option. But we still want to have our experts be able to get close to our customers. And so this is the topic we're going to touch on today, and really where we're going to dig into in our discussion today. And I want to also kind of talk about this through the lens of overall customer experience and customer engagement. Visual engagement is one aspect that's really important. And I think as you're thinking about your digital strategy, there's really three things you should think about. There's digital engagement, which is how do we enable new ways to engage beyond, let's say, the traditional call center, like phone calls and emails. And that could be digital self-service. It could be things like chat. But there's also visual engagement, which is where we're going to spend our time today, which is about how do you use something like a camera on a smartphone or a video interaction to deliver a better customer experience, to get your employee closer, your call center, your contact center, closer to that employee that needs help at home, or that customer that needs help maybe with their router or a new piece of hardware they bought. And then the last area is much deeper, richer technical support, which may require you to actually connect to a device to manage it or update it. The last item we won't touch on in today's episode, but certainly we'll talk about that in more detail. But I think all three of these are areas where you can deliver a better customer experience by being more strategic and thinking about kind of redefining what engagement looks like for you in this new world of remote work and in this pandemic environment of COVID-19. And once again, I don't think this is going to change tomorrow. I think many of the things we see today will be around with us for the next few weeks and months, and may also change the way we work going forward. Consumer habits may change, the way your teams want to work may change. And so getting in front of that now is really valuable to your teams. So what we're going to spend our time on today is digging into that middle area of visual engagement. And really, what does that mean? What is visual engagement? Why is it important? And why does it matter? This is a space that's really been evolving over the last few years. And now it's gotten to a point where it's Sorry if you can hear my son yelling in the background, but really has become a new area of investment and prioritization for companies. It's really a great way in this current environment to help your technical employees get much closer to customers, to help them in a more personalized and kind of high touch way without them actually being physically next to the person. So that kind of sets the stage for what this is and the opportunity. And I think what our goal here today is really to explore, what are some new needs that have emerged and who would potentially use this capability. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, you have your customer service teams who may have field technicians, may have technical L2 level support. They want to get closer to customers, but they can no longer do it in person. And then you also have your internal help desk teams who are really focused on getting closer to your employees who may now need to set up new devices at home, like monitors or laptops or periphery equipment, or they may be needing to update software, which typically they would just bring over their laptop or their computer to an IT person, and now they're trying to do that all themselves at home. So how do we look at some of these challenges around helping our technical teams get closer to our customers and employees to help them in a more productive way? So with that kind of preface and kind of what we're looking at and what the opportunity is, I now want to bring in Marie Russo. Marie is our Director of Product Marketing here at LogMeIn. Marie's been working in this space for some time. She's a great expert both in customer experience and in the world of visual engagement and remote support. Marie, welcome. Great to have you.
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for having me today. So glad to be here.
Yeah, great to have you as well. And I know you're also working from home. You also have a son at home with you and your dog at home with you. So I know you're also dealing with this change in work and doing your best to stay productive and motivated working from home.
Oh, yes. I've barricaded myself in my home office. You may hear pounding on the door. Just ignore it. They're fine.
We can have a kid shout off at the end of our episode today. Well, great to have you and really appreciating you being here today. So I want to start off and kind of have you double click a bit more on what are the things as you're out talking with companies and talking with experts, industry experts and analysts, what are some of the core challenges we're seeing that visual engagement really is designed to go solve? So kind of through your own perspective, can you articulate some of the challenges that we're seeing in the market today?
Yeah, I think even before this global pandemic hit us, some of the challenges that people are experiencing today is that when typically someone calls into a contact center or the IT help desk for support, they're only giving you a one-dimensional view of the problem. So they're talking either on phone or on chat or some kind of messaging platform, and they're not able to fully articulate what the challenge is that they're experiencing with a piece of equipment. And so it's really providing a narrow lens into the situation. What we really need to do is provide a more contextual, multidimensional view that visual engagement offers so that you're as a technician or an agent, you can literally step into the physical space in a virtual level and see what the customer or that remote worker is seeing and help them to troubleshoot and guide a fix. So that's been a challenge that's been pervasive for quite some time. I think the pandemic that we're experiencing now kind of accelerates and exacerbates that pain. So while before this was something that complementary to how you're delivering support over engagement channels, is now table stakes in order to continue to deliver support, but no longer in a way that makes it possible for you to be physically present with that person.
Yeah, I really like the two things you've articulated there really well is one, that we have I think too often we look at customer service as like a channel discussion in the sense of it's like, oh, this is a phone-based discussion or this is an email-based discussion. But in reality, we actually have kind of a toolbox of resources that we can use to provide a much better picture of the customer's problem and then help our teams to be better enabled to support those problems. And so what I like about this is that this doesn't have to be one-dimensional. It's not just video as a unique channel, but rather that video is another tool in the toolbox to help your teams more effectively deliver that better customer experience. So I like that. And then two, I think to your point, this is an accelerant of a broader trend we've seen where there's power to this technology, but that, this is something that's really going to drive it forward faster and may actually change the way many of our teams work going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think to your first point, in customer engagement, we talk a lot about context, relevancy. Having this rich visual experience creates that texture and that context that you really need to truly understand a problem that a customer might be experiencing. And to your point, your second point, it's really forcing organizations to take on elements of digital transformation that perhaps, or technical innovation that perhaps they were pushing off because it's a longer term initiative. It's a nice to have, we'll get there. This is now an all hands on deck, how we need to change the way we support now that will have an enduring impact later on.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So I think we've set the stage well, kind of the challenge and the bit of the opportunity. So let's talk a little bit about what we're actually launching today. I'm excited to hear about what's the big news coming out of LogMeIn.
Sure. Yeah. So today we launched Rescue Live Lens, and it's an interactive browser-based solution. And it uses the camera on your customer or your remote employee's mobile device so that an agent can quickly see what's going on with a piece of equipment, understand what that problem is, and resolve it remotely. Now, what's exciting about this is it doesn't require the end user to download and install an app on their phone. That typically chews up a lot of time on a service call, and it can be really frustrating for less tech-savvy end users. But with Live Lens, IT and field service teams, they're now able to provide this instant guided assistance that ultimately is going to help them lower handle times and resolve issues faster.
Yeah, that's great. I think one thing that broader world of mobile is the shift of, there's some need for a mobile app, and I think there certainly is value in mobile apps still, but there's this shift towards kind of browser based or not requiring that download to once again drive traction, drive adoption, and especially in a case like this where this may only be one interaction that the customer's having with the brand, or even as an employee, this one interaction where it's like, I'm only going to have this problem once. And as soon as you're adding more friction, I'm probably, as the user, already annoyed because I'm having to call in or deal with this issue. And now you're putting more friction in the experience. So where you can be eliminating those friction points, one, better experience for the end user, but two, you're getting to resolution that much faster.
Yeah, you're spot on there. Folks really don't want to have to download an app for a one-time fix. I myself am constantly looking at my phone thinking, how do I clean out some of these apps that I no longer use? They're just chewing up, space and memory on my phone. So, the ability to really simplify and make the experience a lot less friction is super compelling for businesses, and it opens the door for other applications for other use cases down the road. You no longer have this barrier of downloading an app. You can use it far more frequently for all different types of experiences.
Well, and that goes back to your earlier point, which I really like. And when you think, too often we, as practitioners of CX, we get caught up in the status quo. So, we're so used to, we have a call center, they answer phone calls, we deal with some email, there's this kind of way we work. And I think about most of my interaction with the companies I work with, it's still very email driven, phone driven. And we miss these opportunities to either improve those existing channels of engagement. So to your point, this becomes an additive technology, or use these as a better way to service someone. So rather than a world where they sit on hold and they're trying to explain something over the phone, it's let's start a chat session, which is more scalable. And then now we can go chat to video, where we're still having that really in-person high-touch experience, but we've now added the scale of having chat on top of it. So there's these ways you can attack problems in new and unique ways by leveraging this new technology.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the thing to add on to that is, Live Lens, I believe right now is solving a problem and a pain point caused by social distancing. But I think the broader implication and opportunity with visual engagement tools like Live Lens is the opportunity to up-level the customer experience, providing that white glove service experience of bringing eyes onto the problem. I think for many organizations down the road for the long term is going to really help them differentiate that service experience and make customers, really feel an advocacy and a greater trust with that business.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think anytime you can, well, one, solve a problem faster, and two, make it easier for the customer, reduce their friction, and in a way that feels very high touch and feels very premium. I think that's always what we want. I mean, you look at the world of what Best Buy has done with their Geek Squad and what Apple did with their Genius Bar. These were big investments, and they're very high touch investments, but they build that brand loyalty and they build that buy-in from the end user that, hey, I feel like when I have a hard problem, this company has the tools, resources, and processes to go solve it, and I'm not stuck out here on my own trying to solve it.
Yep.
And I think the thing that's exciting to your point as well is that it's not just relevant to maybe what were traditional industries, so maybe, I gave a lot of examples around technical support for, let's say, computer hardware, but you can think about anybody that has a physical product or anybody that's in a world where, a telco where, you have experts that want to get closer to that customer problem. If they can see the customer problem, they can solve it 100 times faster than trying to explain it over the phone. And so there's a wide variety of applications that I think that's really exciting for this new technology.
Yeah, it is. Certainly the telco use case, I think, comes up prevalently because, if you think about through the lens of COVID-19, it's led to a lot of internet providers getting all these support requests for people relying on at-home connectivity to do their work, to stay connected with friends and family, to stay entertained. And now with social distancing, they have to meet these service demands without being on premise with the equipment. And it's really trying to help them find new ways to operate. But outside that, there's some interesting applications as well. So consider the insurance industry outside of medical. Their business hasn't changed. Here in the Northeast, we had a massive storm on Monday that caused damage to people's personal property. There's trees down in my neighbor's yard. If you think about in the city of Boston, a water main broke and destroyed all these businesses. Those businesses now need to go out and file a claim. And in the time of social distancing, there's the way that those claims are handled where insurance companies, they can't rely on in-field personnel to take on investigating a claim. So they've got to get really, innovative and look at different ways in which that person can show the damage to a piece of property and help that investigator validate the claim so that they can process that claim more effectively and quickly so that person can get those repairs done. Additionally, we're seeing demand from manufacturers of large equipment that's more commercial in nature. So we have a customer who makes custom gates or garage doors for large properties or like affluent communities. And this is all very custom equipment, and they need to have skilled technicians that can help service those pieces of equipment. We have customers that are using it for handicap equipment, for custom wheelchairs, or for boating equipment and HVAC equipment. So if you're considering so many of these essential businesses who, like a hospital, rely on heating systems to stay up and running. And you might have a facility manager who's on site, but they're not necessarily an expert at servicing all that equipment and maintaining it. But with LiveLens, they're able to virtually bring in an expert who can help troubleshoot a problem that they might be having with their heating system or determine if a specific part needs to be shipped out for that person on site to replace. So I think the application of this is, certainly we as consumers and direct recipients of the internet benefit from telecommunications companies using it, but I think there are broader implications across other service industries and manufacturing and equipment providers as well.
Yeah, I love those examples because it really resonates with me. I think about many of the services I'm interacting with, people may be short-staffed, their staff may be concerned about coming into work or how they work. And this is a way to bring, once again, get those experts, have them be more scalable. So in the old world, it would be someone would get in a truck and drive to that location and look at a part or talk to someone on site. They would, mark down some information. Then they go back to the office and order a part. And then maybe they have to go out for a second, review session to install the part. In this new world now, that expert can now touch so many more customers, because instead of sitting in the truck for an hour, they can be talking to 5 customers during that hour, having 10-minute sessions. And so you're once again taking your experts and really optimizing them in a world where we're all constrained around our resources, whether that, once again, people being concerned about how and where they're working, or people being out because they're sick, or companies having the pressure of having to do things like layoffs and just having less people in their staff. So what's really exciting about this is you're taking those experts and really making them much more scalable, because you're virtually getting them on site. And you can do that. Once again, they can have, a meeting on one side of the country at 9 a.m. and then another meeting on the other side of the country at 9:15. And that power is really amazing in the sense of helping your organization scale and getting those experts closer to the real problem.
Yeah, I think you're hitting on a point that was in the market prior to the experiencing we're having today with social distancing. Is there is a lack of skilled labor.
Yes.
In the market today. So many of our customers, they rely on third-party service organizations to be their field service technicians, or the field service technicians that they hire directly are younger, less tenured, and don't have the years of expertise, but they're cost effective. And their ability to deploy those technicians on site, but then have them phone back in or do a lens session back in with a more senior skilled technician or product expert, again, like you said, helps these organizations scale their expertise in a more cost-effective structure.
That's great. And I just want to do a quick check-in for those of folks that may have joined a bit late. We're doing this is an episode of CXNextLive. This is a weekly series we do focused on the world of customer engagement. In this episode, we're really focused on the world of visual engagement. For those of you that aren't aware, visual engagement is really focused on how do you get your technical folks in your contact center or support center closer to the customer, so they can get a better sense of the problem that's happening at the edge and address that problem better. We had some exciting news coming out of LogMeIn today, where we've today launched Rescue Live Lens, which is technology focused on helping get your teams closer to the customer, where those teams are supporting a customer problem or an employee IT support problem. Joining me is Marie Russo. Marie's been talking about some of the great things that we're seeing for use cases around visual engagement, and also how we're trying to address those with our new product, Rescue Live Lens. Marie and I were just talking about some additional interesting opportunities around commercial equipment, healthcare, obviously things like telcos. There's a variety of applications where companies have physical products or devices out in the field, and they need to get a better understanding of those devices. And then also use cases around employee IT help desk, where you may have employees working remotely now and they're trying to connect a monitor, a phone, or some other piece of device to do their jobs. Maria, I want to talk a little bit more just to kind of amplify the point of some of the other key value props. How do you see organizations kind of measuring success, and what are some of the terms they use once they implement a solution like this? How do they talk about what the world looks like after they maybe have leveraged something like visual engagement and Live Lens?
Yeah, so I think when you think about some of the value, even in normal circumstances, most businesses don't have an IT support desk in every office location. So Live Lens allows those businesses to really centralize the IT tech support, and while providing that virtualized support to save businesses the costs and the employee downtime associated with potentially having to send hardware back to a main office for triage and repairs. Now, similarly, organizations that have field service teams for customer support, they can turn to video to increase that operational efficiency. And what Live Lens can do is it can reduce those truck rolls or eliminate them entirely. And for those of you who don't understand what a truck roll is anytime a technician is sent out in a truck, essentially, to a residence or a property, sent on site to go service a piece of equipment. Those have a significant cost associated with them. I can't recall if it's it's somewhere on average of like $200 every time a truck is sent out to a location. And if there's no prior work done to explore what the problem is, that could be multiple trips done. So that's a huge service cost. And then they're also looking at how do they increase their first time fix rate. So the first time fix rate is like first contact resolution, right? Our ability to go out, diagnose, and resolve the issue one time only, to wrap it up and get it done. And then to also leverage that offsite expertise that we talked about to assist in the field. And I think even if you don't have a field service team, you can still offer this at-home shoulder-to-shoulder support from a distance. So that's some of the benefit that we think that LiveLens can really offer to all types of service organizations that are supporting equipment that is not on premises or not on your physical premises, or even with customers who might have brought that equipment into your store for repairs. And that's no longer possible because your brick and mortar has closed down. So again, it's being able to provide that level of service, but in a way that still makes it safe for both your customers, your remote workers, and your field service teams.
Yeah, and I think what's exciting to me, like, really good technology or really good process improvements have both top line and bottom. A lot of the conversation we've had is the better customer experience. So, the customer feels, better understood. It's reducing friction. It's making their lives easier, which is all great. But it also has that bottom line impact of, to your point, reducing those truck rolls, making your support teams more efficient. So you kind of have all these great top line and bottom line outcomes, which is great for your business. So it's like you're getting a double win out of this investment. So it's not just that it's cost savings and it reduces that first call resolution or first interaction resolution, but it's helping you on both sides of the business. And that's what I think is what's most exciting and why people really get energized around this new technology.
Yeah, I think there's a clear ROI associated with a product like LiveLens for the operational KPIs that businesses are looking at. Like you said, lower handle times, resolving issues faster. But there is that CSAT, that customer experience that's really, in part of it ties back, and we've been talking about this a lot in light of COVID-19, it ties back to really helping that customer feel like they're being supported, even when support can't physically be there with them. And it helps provide that empathy, and it's helping to build trust with that customer to feel like they're supported in a time when, their lives have been upended. So yeah, I think there's a lot of value to be seen in Rescue LiveLens, which is why I'm so excited that we were able to bring this to market so quickly.
Yeah, that's great. And I apologize. I think I'm getting a note back that my connection's a little bit degrading. I think it's better now. But yeah, Maria, that's great. And I appreciate, the time you spent with us today. I once again, I see this, the exciting thing about this is that, to your initial point, this is an additive capability. You can add this any way you're engaging with your customers today to make it better, but it's also a transformative technology that can really change the way you're engaging with your customers to deliver a better experience, reduce cost, improve the way you kind of redefine engagement. So I really appreciated the time you spent with us today, and very excited about this Rescue LiveLens launch. And I want to thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome, and I'm looking forward to hearing more. And I think our plan is to also have some people that are using this technology, some of our existing customers, and some newer clients of ours to join our CX Next event coming up in a few weeks on May 12th. So we're excited to hear their stories as well at our upcoming event.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a fantastic event. A really compelling forum where we can bring different business leaders and CX practitioners from around the world to one virtual location to share all of their knowledge and best practices. And I'm excited that, of the potential of having some LiveLens customers there to talk about their experience and how they're really changing how they drive customer engagement and supporting customers now and into the future using LiveLens.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the folks there will be talking through those industry examples you gave around OEM manufacturers, telcos. I think we'll be highlighting many of those use cases you mentioned, but doing that with actual customers or actual companies that have implemented that. So really looking forward to that. And thank you again for joining.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
And so I really enjoyed this conversation. I think the big thing that I also want to reinforce with all of you out there is, as you're thinking about your kind of go forward strategy around customer experience, and as you're thinking about how you want to better your customers and your employees, look to these new ways of engagement. There's lots of, technology evolves so quickly, and the bag of tools you have that they're kind of at your disposal only grows. And I think you have to figure out how you can leverage those to really redefine and reimagine how you want to engage your customers and your employees. And once again, it doesn't need to be kind of a single channel strategy, but rather what's the problem you're trying to address? And in this case, get your experts closer to the problem. And then what's the best way to go attack that problem with technology and processes? And that's going to vary from problem to problem. And test and learn what works well for them, but really, I probably apologize. I think my video may have cut out here for a moment, but I think for all of you out there, really think about this and look at visual engagement as another way to really tell that story better, and be one of a number of ways you can attack these problems. And I think what we're going to try to spend time on over the next few weeks in these episodes as we lead up to our event in May and beyond is really, how do you look at digital engagement, visual engagement, and broader technical remote support as three different legs of a stool of delivering a better customer experience? Because as we started this episode out, the way we work is only changing. We're going to be working remotely for some time. Our customers are going to build new behaviors, and we want to set ourselves up for success. And really, this is in many ways accelerating a digital transformation. And what we want to spend time with all of you out there is helping you navigate that in small steps. So how do you make tomorrow better? And how do you make that better for your employee, your agent who's now working from home, or your customer who's trying to get service from home, and in the long term? So what are you doing today that's going to help you set up success for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months from now? So I want to thank you all for joining. I hope this was a valuable experience learning about visual engagement and how that space is evolving. And I hope this gives you ideas about how you can better arm your technical teams, your support teams, and also make your customer experience better at the same time. I thank you all for joining. Please feel free to post questions. Let us know if there's anything else you'd like more detail on. Also, please feel free to register for our event on May 12th, CX Next. You can do that at CXNext.com. There's no charge. We'll have multiple tracks, and we're really excited about sharing more with you in the world of customer experience. I apologize for some of our technical issues. I guess I'm having some connectivity issues today, but I want to thank you all for joining and really look forward to future conversations around the world of customer experience. Share your thoughts, share your ideas. We'll be back next week with at least one episode. We may actually be doing 2 next week, focused on continue to help you with your customer experience. So please feel free to check those out, and also feel free to share this. Thanks again for joining. Please take care of yourselves, and we look forward to our next conversation. Take care.